Ready to go? All right, then I shall begin. Welcome, live audience. Welcome, Facebook Live folks. I know it's a little weird that for my 70th birthday, I would want to give a little mini concert, but it's what I like to do, and hopefully it'll be of benefit to you. You might wonder, why am I calling it 70 at 7 with 7? Well, I just turned 70 today, and it's 7 o'clock. But what's this with 7 about? I'll show you. Unfortunately, a few years ago, I developed a hand condition, which means I can't straighten this finger, I can't straighten this finger, and I can't straighten this finger. All of us have had setbacks. Setbacks that are because of COVID. Setbacks, emotional setbacks or physical setbacks because of the racial roiling. But those are what's top of mind for us. There are setbacks that we all face, frankly, especially as we get a little older. And so I dedicate this concert to everybody who is or who has suffered a setback and who has fought back. I'd like to start by talking to you about how I learned to play the piano. Very unlikely scenario. I grew up in the Bronx in a tenement to two immigrant parents, both Holocaust survivors, who couldn't begin to afford a piano. But at around age 4.5, my mom was walking me around the block, and in the back of the tenement was an old an old upright piano. And in New York, of course, it rains and it snows and it's hot and it's cold. And the kids had pulled off some of the keys, so not all the keys worked, but they were banging on it. Bunch of kids. And for some reason, I was transfixed. And so when I had a chance, I went over to the piano, and they were playing chopsticks. And I tried to imitate chopsticks by ear. And this kind of duplicates how I learned, and in my heart of hearts, I believe how people can learn to play well by ear, which is what people want to be able to do, to be able to stand at the piano and play. I can't read music. So I would hear the chopsticks, and I would start playing the first couple of notes. No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. Ah, that sounds right. So every time I guessed wrong, I got feedback, and every time I guessed right, I got feedback. And eventually, no, that's wrong. And eventually I could do this. And then after I got tired of doing that, I said I could do something, I could add a little bit. So I added one note with my left hand. First I guessed wrong. No! Yes! And before long, I had trained my ear to play like this. And that's how I learned to play the piano. Did I have a musical family? Well, my parents were both wrested as children from their homes and never had a chance to develop it. And my father's tone deaf. But my mother loved to sing. And all around the house, when she was clean, she was a traditional 50s housewife, she would sing. And here, my mom died not so long ago. Here is a medley of her 3 favorite songs that she would sing all around the house. Autumn Leaves, Sunrise, Sunset, and Over the Rainbow. Hey, the dog barked too. That's pretty good. I like that. I like that. When I was in high school, I wasn't popular exactly, and so I was at home all the time, and I had time to do all kinds of, waste time with all kinds of things, including learning silly, useless Tom Lehrer songs. The most useless of which is The Elements, which simply is the words to all of the, at that time, 102 chemical elements, set absurdly to a Gilbert and Sullivan tune. There's antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen, and oxygen, and nitrogen, and rhenium, nickel, neodymium, neptunium, germanium, and iron, americium, titanium, uranium, rubium, zirconium, potassium, vanadium, cadmium, and osmium, and acetylene, radium, gold, platinum, and indium, and gallium, and iodine, and thorium, and thulium, and thallium. There's yttrium, ytterbium, ruthenium, rubidium, and boron, americium, niobium, iridium, and strontium, and silicon, and silver, and samarium, and bismuth, lithium, beryllium, and barium. I am not seeing the live audience taking notes. There will be a quiz next period. There's holmium and helium and hafnium and erbium, phosphorus and francine and fluorine and terbium, magnesium, mercury, cadmium, and magnesium, dysprosium and scandium and helium, cesium, lead, praseodymium and platinum and palladium, palladium, promethium, potassium, tellurium, tantalum, technetium, titanium, tellurium, and cadmium and cadmium and chromium and curium. There's sulfur, californium, and fermium, and palladium, and also metallium, and styrene, and and argon, krypton, neon, radon, xenon, zinc, and rhodium, and chlorine, copper, tabaton, and sin, and sodium. These are the only ones of which the news has come to Harvard, and there may be many others, but they haven't been discovered. So, when I can't teach piano to anybody, but when I try to say what is the essence of the difference between a player and an artist, it's emotion. And one of the pieces that I try to play for people that try to demonstrate emotion is Magna de Carnaval. It's in English, A Day in the Life of a Fool. And it starts hopefully with some emotion, and then hopefully there's a little surprise in the middle. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think let me take a risk and try to take a request, either from the Facebook Live audience or from the live audience. See if I have to say, I don't know that. You get one from Facebook?
Yes. David Willens.
David Willens, okay.
MacArthur Park.
MacArthur Park. I can play MacArthur Park. Okay, MacArthur Park. Let me take a moment. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not much of a jazz player. So I do have another. I think we'll hold off a request. We'll save it for a little later. I think these are times, especially as I'm looking at Basha, a neighbor up the street, I know all the emotional strain that people are going through for both societal and personal reasons. And whatever side of the equation you're on, it's stressful times. Everybody is certainly very, very, very careful about what they say. There is tremendous censorship that I have never seen before in my life over dissent, true dissent. And so there is a tremendous need. Hello, Suzanne. There's tremendous need, I think, for, even if you're an atheist, spiritual sustenance. And one of the songs that for me, in these times when, especially if your views are not in the mainstream, you're feeling very alone. And we live in a society where you hold your feelings in. And so the song You'll Never Walk Alone from the show Carousel, to me has special meaning, and maybe for all of us in these times. Okay, I was in no plan. All right, we had another request. I'm going to completely deviate from what I was planning. Bridge over troubled waters for you. Okay, here we go. Let's see. If I screw it up, it's your fault. You know, that's getting me in a blues spirit. So here's another bluesy thing. It's called Mercy, Mercy. I will say that's the first time I've ever played the piano with the accompaniment of clicking dog nails. Those of you who may not be here, there are my sweet doggy Hachi and the wonderful dog from up the street, Joni, are racing after each other. But I digress. So I had told you at the beginning of this that I had a shock not so long ago in which I developed a hand condition. It doesn't hurt at all. But I can't play with this finger, I can't play with this finger, I can't play with this finger. So you've been listening to a seven-fingered piano player. I've had to adapt. And as I said, this concert is dedicated to everybody who's had to overcome a setback and have tried, successfully or not. And I was, the Napa Valley Opera House was a place in the 19th century that was, a jewel, a showplace, but it had fallen into disrepair as opera went out of favor at the end of the 19th century, and it went into ruin. But about some years ago, not so long ago, the Mondavi family of Mondavi Wines decided they wanted to try to restore it to its former glory, and they spent $50 million to restore it to its former glory. And then there was the grand gala opening, and I was so flattered. They asked me to play the piano for the opening. But this is now when I had just developed a seven-fingered problem. And I was terrified that I was going to besmirch this amazing opening, and they want me to play, but I couldn't say no. So I said yes, and then I said, what in the hell should I play that would give honor to this venerable institution? And I realized, I did a little research, and apparently Scott Joplin played there at the Opera House right toward late in the beginning 20th century, or right before it went. So I said to myself, I am going to try to channel Scott Joplin in his iconic song Maple Leaf Rag. And so I had to start slow because it's not something you can do right away. So I will now try once again to channel Scott Joplin and Maple Leaf Rag, and maybe if we all think hard enough, pray hard enough, divine hard enough, just maybe I'll be able to speed up a little bit. Scott, wherever you are. I've always loved show music, and probably my favorite show, and it's kind of appropriate in these times when the revolution appears to be nigh, violent and not. But Les Mis, of course, is about the Jacobins and the French Revolution. Off with their heads! And so here is a medley from what may be my favorite show, Les Mis. Thank you very much. Let's see. Oh, I know what I want to play. You know, I'm a career counselor. And sometimes there's a moment in a session when we need a break, either because the client needs some time to think about issues, to what we've discussed, or just a break from the intensity. And I wrote a song, no words, but a song that recapitulates the process that my clients typically go through. They start out typically quiet, sad, and then there's slow progress, and then there's a big win, and then they're back to being peaceful, but this time with more contentment. So here is that piece. It's the song I wrote for my clients. Thank you. I have given short shrift to my Facebook Live audience. I don't mean to be looking at you. It's just more tempting to look at the live audience, but I haven't forgotten about you. You know, maybe this is a good time to take another request. Was there a request from the Facebook people, from the people who watch it on Facebook Live? Quite a number of them. Oh, what, okay, what else you got? That's fine. I mean, you know what? I'm going to do both. Let's stop there. So, I can't play classical music well because I don't read music, but I can try. I'm familiar with Claire de Luz. I'll play a little of it. We'll see what happens. And then "Happy" is the song. My wife just is listening to this on Facebook Live. She's up in Napa, and I'll be coming and see her after this. And that's the song that we fell in love to. So we'll start with a little imitation of Claire de Lune, and then we'll do "Happy," the song from Lady Sings the Blues. can even remember what it sounds like. Anyway, there's some Claire de Lune, badly botched. And now, this is the song. I guess I'll tell the story just a little bit. I wanted to impress Barbara, so I took her to an off-Broadway show. We were in New York, the Fantastics, in the Village. And afterwards, we're walking back to the car, and I wanted to impress her, and we passed a piano bar. And when the pianist took a break, I asked him if I could play something for my wife, or at that point, my first date girlfriend, Barbara. And this is the song, Happy from Lady Sings the Blues. I think, I always, when I used to teach, when I was a student, I always used to appreciate when the teacher really didn't keep us on overtime. They let us, he said it was going to be over 8 o'clock. You were out of there at 8 o'clock. So I said 45 minutes, so I'm going to do 45 minutes. So, but before I get to my last song, everything I've done for you tonight is really quite custom for you. But the one thing that I have done at every concert, but especially every speech I've ever given in my life, and I've given a lot, has been to tell the following story of my father. And not because I promised him I would, although I did, but because it has a lesson that I think maybe in these times more than ever has value for all of us. The year was 1939. The town was Sierpz, Poland. My father was living with his parents in a bucolic town, never locked the doors. But one day there was a knock on the door, and it was two Nazis in black boots. And unlike in the movies, they didn't yell. One was silent, and the other whispered. He said, "Raus. You will get out of your house tomorrow with only what you can carry on your back by noon tomorrow, or else." And they clicked their heels and they left. The next day there weren't two Nazis. There were 12, and 2 trucks. And now they weren't whispering anymore. Raus! They went into all the Jewish households, and they took all of the people who were children or old, they put them in one truck, and the real strong, able-bodied in another. And my father never saw his parents again. He was one of, I think it was 57 men who dug a tunnel and escaped out of the Panari death camp and lived in the Black Forest thanks to the good Christians who took care of him. At the end of the war, he was dropped on a cargo boat and dumped in the Bronx, New York, without a penny to his name, no money, no English, no family, no education, only the scars of the Holocaust tortures. What did he do? No job was beneath him. He took a job sewing shirts in a factory in Harlem. And what did he do at night? Did he say, I'm exhausted, I'm a Holocaust survivor, I'm a victim? No. He went to Roosevelt High School night school to learn English. Because he knew if he didn't speak good English, he would always be relegated to minimum wage work. And what did he do on Saturday mornings? Did he say, I'm a victim, I'm a Holocaust survivor, I'm going to go to Holocaust remembrances, I'm going to go and watch Saturday morning football? He went to the owner of the factory for whom he sewed shirts. And he said, could I buy these shirts I sewed for you during the week and sell them out of a cardboard box on the streets? And he bought them for $1. This was 1948 or something. And he sold them on the streets for $1.50. What did he do with the money? He said, oh, I'm entitled to get drunk now. No. See, my mom and me, as I told you at the beginning, we were living in a really crappy neighborhood, terrible neighborhood, tenement in the Bronx. Dangerous neighborhood. And he wanted to get us out of there. So he saved up from his selling the shirts on the street for the first and last month's rent on the only store he could afford, 105 Moore Street in one of the worst sections of New York City in Brooklyn. You can look it up to this day. 105 Moore Street still ain't no palace. And the most vivid memory of my life was one day, I was now 13, and he said, I can't afford a security guard, but the kids were coming out on the weekends just stealing boxes of shirts, sunglasses, everything. He couldn't afford a security guard. He said, Martin, you be security guard. Come in. So I went in and I was the, quote, security guard. I don't think I stopped any thefts, but I stood there. But one day, and this is the most vivid memory of my life, I remember business was slow and there was a parking meter in front of the store. And I remember my father having one elbow on his side of the parking meter, and I had my elbow on the other. And suddenly, when you're 13, you stop being quite as egotistical. And I said, Daddy, how come you so rarely talk about the Holocaust? And he stiffened, which is something he rarely did. He said, Martin, the Nazis took 5 years from mine life. I won't give them 1 minute more. He said, Martin, never look back. Always take the next step forward. And each and every one of us, no matter what our race, no matter what our gender, no matter what our sexual orientation, no matter what our age, have had crap happen to us. I have been privileged to have been career counselor to some of the most successful people on planet Earth, as well as to some real strugglers. And one of the key differentiating features is that the successful ones were far more likely to follow my father's advice. Never look back. Always take the next step forward. And now I want to end with a song that is inspiring enough for me that it could follow this story that moves me to this day. It is from The Sound of Music, Climb Every Mountain. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much, and thank you all for coming. I was afraid. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, this is the way I wanted to celebrate my birthday. It was great seeing you all. I think I'm done. You've heard more than enough. Thank you all. Be well. Okay. Bye all. So la da 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 da. My mother used to sing it. So la da 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 da. Yep. I'm gonna come out and say hello to everybody.